Hello, my name is Marissa, or That Cosmic Synchronicity, and today I want to talk a little bit about dealing with the negative things in your life, right? Okay, so in my manifestation journey here, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning that you have to change yourself within if you want to change the world without you. Now, if you're seeing this, that means you are a vibrational match, which means you resonate a little bit, at least, with what I'm saying, which means you're probably going through the same thing, which is why my guides have been saying that it's really important for me to keep sharing what I'm going through, like, as it's happening. So the past week, I've really gotten into how there's really three things that might be why you have been experiencing something negative. And I'm going to give you guys examples as well. The first reality is that you will only witness or experience what you are the vibrational match of, right? So you're seeing this because you are a vibrational match. That is a reality that exists in all areas of life, okay? So I've really been diving into this because, yes, I want to build a better life for myself. I want to attract more abundance. I want to create my dream life. But there's a reason that I'm not currently experiencing that. That reason is because there's still some stuff going on inside of me that is poor and sick and broke and not feeling worthy enough. Like, everything you see is a mirror to yourself. When you start living like that and you start realizing that, you start seeing the good in everybody that you see is because that good is within you. The evil you see in the world is within you as well. Okay? The negative situations you're dealing with, maybe at work or something, maybe within your relationship, all of that is pointing to something within you that you need to heal. Okay, so let me explain a little bit more. When you have a negative experience you're having, the first thing you need to do is consider what lesson you need to be learning. Because everything in this world is here to teach you a lesson. Now, it doesn't have to be a huge big deal. It doesn't have to be life-changing lesson, but once you learn that lesson, your life will change. That thing will no longer be in your life, at least not in the same way. For me, I've been trying to attract abundance, right? I have been living in scarcity mode. I'm just gonna get real here. I've been living in scarcity mode for my entire adult life. I probably was as a child too, and that's probably where this is coming from. But there is something here that I need to learn that I have not learned yet. Until I can get my abundance, until I learn that lesson, I will not get my abundance, right? The abundance that I dream of, the abundance that exists in this world, and I can see it, and it's like right there. There's something holding me back, and it is most likely the fact that I have not learned the lesson I need to learn. Now, when you talk about abundance, there are so many lessons, and this is another thing. I think everybody's lesson is a little different. I think there's billions and billions and billions of lessons happening in this world right now. And as we process them, we're processing them a little bit differently than everyone else. Your perspective in this collective matters. We are all here to experience the vast diversity of this world. And because of that, your experience will never be exactly the same as someone else's. You might be seeing this because we're on the same vibrational level, but that does not mean you are experiencing everything the exact same way I am. There might be even somebody out there who's experiencing something very, very similar to me, but it's still different because their perspective is different. They had different, situations growing up, different family, different experiences they've had to get them where they are today. So the first thing you need to consider is, what lesson could you be learning? Now, I have dealt with this question when it comes to abundance for so many years now, as I've just said. And it could be that I need to learn that money is easy to make. Maybe I have a belief that money is difficult to make. A lot of this is just, you have a subconscious belief that maybe money is difficult to make. You have to struggle for money, that only evil people are rich or something. There's all these things that could be holding me back. I have to learn all of those lessons. I think that's what it is for me. I think there's just a lot of layers to it. A lot of layers. I think A big one for me, I'll just get real personal here, is my worthiness. I do not feel worthy of more abundance. And because of that, I can't have it in my life, not yet. This YouTube channel is a perfect example of me challenging those inner beliefs that I'm not worthy. Because if I wasn't worthy, I wouldn't be making these videos. I have to go in to that idea that I'm not worthy and break it down. The only way to do that is to rewire your subconscious, sure, but you have to do something different in your life to really change your perspective. You have to do something different to see something differently. So whereas I've always kind of felt maybe unworthy of abundance and of a better life than I'm currently living, by making these videos, I'm proving to myself that I'm worthy. Okay, because they exist in the world. People are watching them. Maybe not hundreds of thousands of people yet, but that is the first step, is to challenge the fear within you, the fear that you are not worthy. Okay, so that's just me. Your lesson might be a little bit different. Your lesson might be about other, subconscious beliefs that you don't have. Think about it. Only you know, okay? But that was mine. So now this is interesting because every time I sit down and make one of these videos, it's about my spirituality. It's following my heart, okay? The business I run that has nothing to do with spirituality and it's in its entirety, I sell things. Every time I sit down and do one of these and follow my heart and follow what feels right, because I want to both help myself but also in the process help others, my business does fantastic for that day or the few days where I'm focusing on something like this. Yeah, for no reason, right? I've said in previous videos and a few months ago, I really kind of scaled back on that business. It's still doing great. September was a fantastic month for me. So I think that's just a perfect example of when you follow your heart, when you try to do what your soul wants, the universe will always be there to support you in whatever way that means for you. The second reason something might be happening to you is because you might be getting tested. Now, usually this has to do with already learning a lesson, and you have to prove that you've learned your lesson, or else it will keep coming back in different ways, from different angles. Maybe there's a little bit deeper of a lesson. Really getting tested is just proving that you've learned your lesson. They kind of go hand in hand. And like I've said before, like when you really dive in and want change in your life, you will get tested. You will get tempted to go back to your old way of living. And so if you can't necessarily find a lesson that you've been learning, or if it's something that just keeps happening, maybe that's the test. Maybe you're failing the test. I have had a lot of experiences when I was between like high school and college, and even a little bit when I graduated college. I was in a lot of positions to speak publicly, right? So I had to give presentations, or I had to speak in front of large crowds, right? I've said before, I had social anxiety really bad, right? So public speaking was not something I was comfortable with. I was very afraid of. It is not something I wanted to do. But I kept finding myself in these positions of public speaking. So thinking back, these were negative experiences for me because I didn't want to do it. This is not something I had sought out, okay? But I chose to grow from it every single time. I chose to see it as a lesson that I need to just find my confidence, find my inner voice, find my worthiness, right? So after years of doing this in school, in college, in my job for a little bit, after I graduated, I found myself, I wasn't in that same job anymore. I wasn't in school anymore. I didn't have to give these presentations anymore. I don't want to be a public speaker, right? So eventually these experiences were no longer in my life. Now, that's a perfect example of how I learned my lesson. I was tested, right? I chose to not make it a stressful experience for myself. I chose to have fun with it. I chose to improve and get better so that it wouldn't like scare me anymore. And now I don't have to do that anymore because the lesson has been learned. So it's done. And if I ever have to do that again, I'm not scared about it. I'm doing it right now even, like in this, like, sure, I'm just by myself talking to a camera, but in a way this is public speaking and it does not bother me anymore, you know? So that could be a way to know that you've learned your lesson and that the test you've passed it, because the experience will stop happening. The negative experience, that specific one, will stop happening. The third reason you might be experiencing something negative and how to work through it is that it might just be for the experience. Okay, so like I said earlier, we are here to learn lessons. We are here to experience everything there is to experience on Earth. That means if everything was the same every day for you and everything felt good all the time and it was always the same, you wouldn't have as deep of an experience as you're meant to have, right? So you need little things to bother you, to appreciate when there's nothing around to bother you, right? So it's like, it's a basic truth that I think we all think about sometimes, but when you start looking at your negative experiences as just that, an experience, you kind of remove that judgment. Whether it's good or bad, you remove the judgment of emotion from it. That helps so much in terms of changing your reality. Now, part of that is when you get the experience and you don't like it, sometimes that's all it's for, is to show you what you don't want in your life, to show you what you don't prefer, because maybe you wouldn't have even thought about that. Now, it could just be you see something you don't prefer and you choose to change that. That's great too. Self-empowerment, that is part of it too, is realizing you have the power to change your life. You have the control to alter the things in your life you do not want. So if you can't change it, if you can't physically do anything, like leave the scenario or something, if it's so ingrained in your experience that it's not able to be changed right now, then it's probably a lesson or a test. But sometimes it's as simple as my downstairs neighbor smokes in her apartment and it comes up into mine and I hate that smell and it irritates me so much, but I have the power to go say something to her. You know, I have the power to tell my landlord. I don't want to tell my landlord, so I'm gonna just talk to my neighbor, but that is an experience I don't prefer and I can do something about it. There's no lesson to be learned there, except, you know, maybe the communication skill or something, you know. Like I said, there's billions of lessons to be learned. Everything could be a lesson if you really want it to be. And once you get past that, you start realizing that you can continue to learn these lessons without it being so painful, without there being suffering. But sometimes you have to get to the point where you have suffered a lot, where you have gone through a lot, because that's going to push you into a deeper spiritual understanding. So I'll leave you with this. Maybe today consider releasing judgment, even good judgment. Release any emotion you have towards the world you see around you. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad. It just is. And when you see that, it makes it easier to choose what you do want to experience. Okay, the sun's getting in my eyes. That's it for today, you guys. Thank you so much.